Good evening, you guys. So I wanted to do a video about inner healing and what what steps to take when dealing with trauma because trauma like I've heard what Jeannie has said, and I'm kind of going to do a kind of quick review because her situation is very similar to my situation. We're two different people, but when you're thinking about it, with the Asian cultures, it is very um it's almost the same scenario, if you want to put it that way. But anyways, when she had talked about her sexual harassment situation with her relatives and stuff, it kind of reminded me a lot about my childhood. Okay, so a little bit of background about my childhood trauma. I went through a lot as an adult. I mean, as a child, and it got into adulthood, and I went through a lot of therapy. I went through a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy. I had really good doctors. Thank God I had one of the best psychologists. Dr. Christine Pawanda had diagnosed me with ADHD. I really didn't realize that ADHD was trauma related. I thought ADHD was a nutritional, like a lack of nutrition. That's what I thought it was. But then when I looked up the word ADHD and I looked up the definition and somebody had brought it up to my attention, I started thinking to myself, like, wow, ADHD is related to trauma. And so that's why Jenny Mai has trauma too as well. And she has ADHD. So looking back on my past childhood like trauma, and just reflecting on what happened, and of course it's in the past, but it got into my adulthood, and I didn't really like I used my ADHD to better focus on other things in my life. Like I went to college, got my degree, got my associate's degree, went on further, went to Southern New Hampshire University where I study right now. And I'm working on my bachelor's degree in healthcare administration, which I'm not sure I want to finish up, but heck, I really took on the initiative role to be an honor roll student, which a lot of the Asian community has done. Stating like when you're dealing with trauma related problems, especially if it is entered into your adulthood, okay, and it made you upset, embarrassed, frustrated, you're going through all kinds of emotions when you're talking about things that enter into your mind. You cannot control those thought processes. And so, what I fundamentally did to help myself to get past all this, this, I guess, this distorted thinking, intrusive thoughts, because, like, I believe I still have those intrusive thought processes. It had affected my mind like a lot. And being Asian American, it really made me wonder more about like what I need to do in order to treating my traumatic experience, because we all have gone through something that had either if you didn't deal with it, you had somebody normally in the family has to have gone through something horrible, like a crisis event to make you you know feel a lot of impactful emotions. So the one biggest thing that I would like for you guys to take away is don't feel ashamed for what you have, because you can always relate back to that, and really you can relate back to that and just really work on the areas that you need to work on. Um, hold up, you guys. There are a few different things that I have taught myself to really help work in my intrusive thoughts, which was yoga and meditation. Okay, yoga is very effective for people who have traumatic experiences because it helps cope with the letting go part. of your anxiety. When you have a lot of worries, normally if you're dealing with a traumatic event, you normally deal with a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings that you really feel is unbearable to deal with. So, what I had to do was really look at the issues of what really was, leaking and triggering my emotions, my feelings, and the feelings of regret and guilt and shame and all that kind of stuff. But when you look back on what history has taught people, especially when it comes down to like, I talked about it, wars, a lot of people who are military soldiers deal with, post-traumatic stress disorder. And then they don't have a very clear mindset after that because they're coping and dealing with things that, you know, I don't think normally you would be able to, conquer and deal with on your own. That's the reason why I made this video, because I want to be able to support as many people as much as possible that go through this, trauma. Because it not only does it affect your mind, but it affects your relationships, it affects the way you live, it affects your inability to think, because of the fact that it just causes so much more. And there should be more, like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot more research than there ever has been in the past decade about, post-traumatic stress disorder. They have more, Zoom call meetings. Somebody invited me to a Zoom call meeting. And then, of course, recovery programs are always available for people who experience trauma. But the biggest thing I want to explain to you guys is that journaling out had really helped me therapeutically to get out my feelings that I've never, wanted to see, because at times when you're going through shit, when you're going through shit, you're going through things that really in here, you in your mind process, you're wondering to yourself, like, why is this happening to me? But subconsciously your mind is going to think things, and especially if you already have a brain injury, you're just like, you can't think clearly anymore. So that is one of the biggest things I want to talk about. And being in the healthcare industry, I'm a caregiver to my mother, but also, being a life insurance agent, it has taught me that you have to get past the discrimination. You have to get past what things that people have told you about, the stigma of mental illness. Because, mental illness is just another form of saying that, people have gone through situations that have been tragedies and events, things like that. And so the processes of how to cope and deal with that will, make, for me personally, my healing journey was to make sure that I recovered mentally so that I didn't have to fight, those spiritual demons inside of me. And because my friend at Spring had always brought up saying that trauma was demonic spirits. And do I believe that? To a certain extent, but I don't believe it entirely. I believe that trauma, you're faced with a lot of different, events that happen, and you're not able to process it clearly. So that's what really trauma really is, the root cause of what happened. And from your past relationships, whatever somebody done hurt you, or and you wonder why this happened and why did this happen to me. And we all have questions like that, because sometimes in life you're wondering, why this happened. So the biggest thing that you guys could take away from this whole YouTube video is healing starts with here first. You have to heal from, your wounds that you carried, and your past wounds that you carried. And it's important to heal from that part first before you can really work through all the different, you know, battles that you've gone through. And so I would definitely appreciate if you guys like, comment, subscribe. If you guys have any questions, I will make my other YouTube video following. You guys can definitely follow on my channel. Like I said, feel free to ask me any questions. I don't hesitate to ask me any questions if you really are experiencing any type of, your life, because I feel like we can all learn from each other, and so that's the biggest thing that you know I want to speak about. And it's always important to address. Don't let your voice not be heard, especially something this important. I know in my culture, we have more, technology has advanced, and thank God because of that, because now, people are able to host virtual stuff, and you don't really have to come into an office and speak to somebody. But of course, like, especially if you're a veteran, you should be able to get some type of, therapy, and approaching it in a better mind space is important to recovery. I truly believe in that. I truly believe in recovery. When you're recovered, when you're if you're recovering from anything, whether it be alcohol, uh, any type of addiction, whether it be drug addiction, whatever you're going through, any type of substance abuse problems, you have to work with some good, not just healthcare providers. Healthcare providers are great, but what I'm saying is, if you really want to heal from past your traumas and addictions and stuff like that, it's important to have a good supportive of of group to help you to recover from whatever you've experienced in your life. But anyways, if you're going through any type of situation like this, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions, and let me know if you guys had anything similar to my experience, because like I said, I want to spread the word, be able to help many people, the YouTube community as much as possible. But anyways, like I said, feel free to message me down below. And if you have any other suggestions of, whatever you would like to see on my YouTube channel, please feel free to drop a comment down below.